I remember when when he went missing, it was very strange because he is the most non-vulnerable person I can think of. You know, he's loud, he's a fighter.
If anybody had any interaction with him during Pride, we'd love to hear from those people.
Toronto police say they cannot rule out that his disappearance may be linked to 3 unsolved mysteries, 3 men who disappeared from the gay village and have never been found.
As a journalist and a gay man, this story got my attention.
Friends and family have led several searches across the city for Andrew. So far, no trace.
To understand what happened to Andrew Kinsman, I had to find out who he really was. So Andrew Kinsman was a really popular guy, and people like to talk about him. They like to remember him.
He was a no-nonsense, no-guff kind of guy. You know, funny, charming, and out and proud.
And he's working for an AIDS charity. He was also working a bunch of bars, and one of those was this place, right in the middle of the gay village. It's called the Black Eagle. Of course, when anyone goes missing, it's worrying and it's horrible, and everyone that loves them is going to be worried sick. But with this, there was something bigger going on. This isn't just one guy going missing. There's a whole bunch of men that have gone missing from the village. I'm talking about over years and years and years. And so when Andrew goes missing, they start putting up these missing person posters, and they're organizing search parties across Toronto. Can you remember when you heard he was missing?
I do.
How did you hear?
Pride Monday. There was a posting on Facebook, and it was like, has anybody seen him, Andrew? And immediately, it was like, what? That's not Andrew. Because it was so out of character for Andrew to leave unannounced. It just didn't happen. And the fact that his cat was left unattended, and he loves his cat. Immediately, you know, there was a report put into the police, a missing persons report put in, and then we started to put things together, because Andrew wasn't the first person who went missing like this, right? We had several people who had gone missing. And so, you know, I got this sinking feeling. Oh my God, no.
With Andrew's friends making a lot of noise and the local press picking up the story, Toronto police set up a dedicated team headed up by Detective David Dickinson.
There are 2 cameras of extreme importance. One right here on the side of this building.
Okay, yeah.
And then the main one that captured Andrew leaving his house was just down at the corner in front of his house, right across the street. You know, we had gone back into Andrew Kinsman's apartment. We discovered a name on a calendar, a note that said 3 p.m. Bruce. We started looking at surveillance video for around 3 p.m. and we observed a red van that stops in front of Andrew's house.
Top right. So there's the car, and there we go, that is it. That is the moment that Andrew gets into the car. And that is the last time that Andrew is seen. Last footage, last picture of Andrew. No one can see a number plate from this CCTV. The police have to work out whose car Andrew's getting into. Detective Dickinson, he told me that they worked out this is a red 2004 Dodge Caravan. But the issue is, in the province of Ontario, there's about 6,000 of those. So it's not easy to work out who owns this particular car. So here, something that becomes absolutely crucial is the calendar from Andrew's place. So on the day he went missing, Andrew himself is written 3 p.m. Bruce. The key thing is there's only 5 people who own that car who are also called Bruce. And eventually the police work out that one of these cars is owned by a guy called Bruce MacArthur. This Bruce MacArthur has taken his van from Toronto all the way east to a scrapyard outside of the city. Did he seem like he wanted to get it done quickly? Did he seem like he was any kind of in a particular rush?
When you make an offer on a vehicle for somebody, in a lot of cases they say, you know, basically, is that all you can offer? Can't we get any more? And sometimes you haggle back and forth. This was no haggle. It was just what I offered. He accepted, and I paid him off, got the ownership, and that was it.
Did he explain why he wanted it scrapped?
No. We get a lot of those vehicles in here. They're all basically just falling apart. They're rotten. They're rusting out. So there was no need to, that's basically all it was. We're buying it for scrap, right?
When people come in generally, is there an assumption that the car is going to get scrapped quickly?
According to some of my salespeople, they've seen him here before. He was a customer here. He must have come in and bought parts in the past. So he should know that we don't scrap the cars immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe he wasn't thinking. I don't know.
3.5 months after Andrew goes missing, the police seize Bruce MacArthur's 2004 Dodge Caravan. And if you look at the evidence photos, it doesn't particularly look like Bruce went to any great lengths to even clear his stuff away or separate himself from this being his car. I mean, look at this picture. It looks like he's left his coffee cup there. And there isn't anything obvious in these pictures that links Bruce to any wrongdoing or links Bruce to Andrew. But then forensics get involved and they find little traces of blood in the car. And that blood is a match to Andrew's DNA. So at this point, Bruce MacArthur becomes a suspect in the disappearance and the presumed murder of Andrew Kinsman. I want to flip back to the April of 2017. This is really important. 2 months before Andrew Kinsman goes missing, this guy goes missing. He's called Salim Essen. There's clear overlaps because he also goes missing from the village, but it doesn't make the same noise that it does when Andrew Kinsman goes missing. He's actually not even reported missing for a couple of weeks. At this point, though, there's nothing linking the name Salim Essen to the name Bruce MacArthur. But Bruce MacArthur is now under surveillance, and the police have a breakthrough. They're granted permission to go into MacArthur's flat when he's not there. And when they do that, they find a piece of evidence that changes everything.
We were able to get into his apartment when Bruce had gone out one day. What was found? We were able to copy about half his computer before we had to pull out. We thought Bruce was coming back home. What was found on that? The first photograph was that of Salim Essen, deceased in Bruce MacArthur's bed. To the date, we had no evidence linking Salim Essen and Bruce MacArthur. And now all of a sudden we go from no evidence to arrestable evidence. We now have photographic evidence of Andrew Kinsman, now deceased, in Bruce MacArthur's van. And same thing,
in the van?
In the back of that 2004 Dodge Caravan.
Just as the cops were working out when to arrest MacArthur, surveillance spotted him picking up another man. That's another potential victim. And that's when they called it. It was time to make their move.
It was very stressful because when we got to 95 Thorncliffe Park Drive, I'd learned that he'd already gone up to his apartment. Bruce lives on the 19th floor. I got into the lobby and only one elevator was working. And finally, when the doors open, the elevator's jam-packed to people. So we have to push our way into the elevator, and it pretty much milk runs the whole way up to 19. It almost stops on every second or third floor. So a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. Finally, the doors open on 19, and we get out, and we make our way to Bruce's apartment. We knock on the door, obviously with plans that we're gonna force it if we have to. But then Bruce comes to the door. I hear him say, "I'm coming," and he opens the door, and at that point, we push our way in. The person he was with was in the bedrooms in Bruce MacArthur's bed. He had a blind on his face, and he was bound. And Bruce is arrested at that time for 2 counts of first-degree murder, that for the murder of Andrew Kinsman and Salim Essed. At that point, we hadn't uncovered any remains. We didn't know who else was involved. You know, by this time now, we're starting to uncover photographs of other men who we had no idea who they were.
The police narrowed their investigation to the garden of a home in the middle of suburban Toronto, 3 miles away from the gay village.
We spoke to residents who are shocked to see this much activity in a relatively quiet neighborhood, and they're only left but wondering, just what will police find here?
Men in hazmat suits drag a plant from the yard.
Police have unearthed the dismembered remains of at least 3 unidentified individuals.
More analysis needs to be done to determine who these remains belong to.
You can see forensics remains at the scene. You're seeing them remove a second plant pot.
I can now confirm we have recovered the remains of at least 6 individuals. We have at least 7 sets of remains.
They found human remains belonging to the 8th missing man, and they believe it could end there.
What kind of case is it? It's a serial killer.
There is no way on earth that anyone could predict that the police were going to end up finding the bodies of 8 men in the back of someone's garden. Some of these guys, they hadn't even been reported missing. It ended up being the biggest serial killer case in the history of Toronto. So this went back years and years. I'm talking about all the way to 2010. This 7-year period where Bruce McArthur is murdering people. And the guy that was responsible for the whole thing, he was known for being a shopping mall Santa Claus. So why would a man that was known in the community for being a shopping mall Santa want to kill multiple gay men? And the bigger question is, how did he get away with it for so long? If you want to watch the full series of Santa Claus the Serial Killer, head to BBC iPlayer, and don't forget to subscribe to the BBC 3 YouTube page for more documentary content.